Modifier QW.
Oh, yes, this one. Last month, I gave us a coding scenario, and I had a level 3 office visit with a modifier, no modifier, I'm sorry, and the patient had a rapid strep test, and I added the modifier QW to the rapid strep test, which was 87880. And a lot of people wrote in and said, what the heck is QW, and how do you know when to use it? And it was very confusing. And even though you study that for the CPC exam, unless you work with it, you know, every day, it's just something that is not that important to you, but it is really important. CLIA means Clinical Laboratory Improvement Amendments, and most medical practices they apply and pay for CLIA waived certificates, and they are given a number that indicates that they have a CLIA waived certificate. So the rapid strep test, for example, is a CLIA waived exam, and if you bill it without that QW, you are not going to get paid. But the thing is that there are HCPCS codes and there are CPT codes, and the CLIA waived certificate is for the doctor's office who does basic urinalysis, urine pregnancy tests, stool guaiacs, the simple glucose, the blood sugar test, things like that, nothing extensive. But what you really need to do if you're a manager or you have anything to do with the coding and billing is that you have to go onto the website of the CMS.gov website and save on your desktop the list of the CLIA waived lab tests that the physicians can bill for. And they are constantly updated, and there are a ton of different manufacturers. What I highly recommend is that if a doctor is doing a test, or even if they're ordering medicine or anything, get the invoice from the manufacturer so you know the dosage, you know the type of tests, you know everything, and how much it costs the physician. And so that's very important. The other thing to keep in mind with the CLIA waived certificate and the modified QW is that the CLIA number is linked to the office location. If a doctor has 2 offices that he practices in, he needs 2 separate CLIA waived certificates, and he needs them linked separately to each location. And that's also very important. And one of the things that I do want to stress is that not every CLIA waived procedure requires a QW. And an example that I'll show you in a minute is the urinalysis 81002. It is CLIA waived, but there is no QW that's required for it. And you're not going to know that unless you have that table, that list of all the lab tests that someone with a CLIA waived certificate has. The other thing to remember is that the CLIA number goes in box 23 of the claim form, and its electronic equivalent. And you may have the QW on the appropriate CPT code, and you may not, whatever, but if you don't have that clear certificate number in box 23, you're not going to get paid regardless. If you use the urinalysis and add a QW, it will be denied because it doesn't require it. And if you use the rapid strep and you don't put the QW, it will get denied because it requires it. So you need that table. Just know what tests that your office does, look them up, match it to the manufacturer, and you'll have your information. And once you put the CLIA waived certificate into the computer system and link it to the office location, it's a one-time deal. You don't have to do it every single time. It automatically will go. So if you have a problem with the denial, make sure that it's all connected, you know, when you bill electronically. And that's really important. And remember that if it doesn't require it, it could deny. And also you have to know your pay rules, because some insurances, I don't want to say Blue Cross Blue Shield, but I think it is. They bundle the urinalysis into the office visit. And if it is a CLIA waived test with Medicare and it's allowed and it denies, you can't bill the beneficiaries. But there are a number of reasons why it could deny, so you want to make sure that you either have the QW or don't, that type of thing. I have there's the online Medicare CMS Internet Only Manual, publication 100-04, Chapter 16, Section 70.8, and there's all information about the CLIA waived tests there. And there should be a little further up on the screen 2 web pages that are cms.gov that gives you the CLIA web page and the waived test list. And like I said, that list is always increasing. Oh, the other way, at the bottom, I'm sorry. But yeah, right here. These are the 2 where you can get all that information. And the most important to me is the CLIA waived test list. And I can tell you that there is a question on some publisher published a question about the 81002 as a CPC question, and the answer they gave for the urinalysis required a QW. And that's not true. And if you look on the CLIA waived test list, you will find that it does not require it. Neither does the pregnancy test. So if you go up and move down, I mean, the test granted waived status under CLIA, right here. This is just a very, very small example. The list is probably 1.5 inches thick of all of them. But the first example I have, and this is what it will look like, but it'll be pages 81025. This is a CLIA waived test. No QW required. And it's a urine pregnancy test by visual color comparison. And the manufacturer, various manufacturers, that's how it's listed. And then it says, what's the use? It's for pregnancy. Now the next one, CPT, is the 87880 QW. And the test name for this is Abbott Signifies Strep A Test, throat swab only. And when I only listed 1, but there's probably 25, where it says various Wintech diagnostics. And this use is rapidly detects GAS antigen from throat swabs. But again, I just listed 1. When you look up 87880 QW, you will see a whole list of manufacturers. And then the last one is a HCPCS code, and it's G0434. And this test may not be covered in all instances. You want to contact a Medicare carrier for claims instructions. I have learned over the years that the various jurisdictions, they vary, that local coverage determination or whatever. It's just, you have to call. If you get denied, call, find out why, and then it may just be your jurisdiction for billing that this particular code is not covered. But what happens in Massachusetts may be totally different in California, and so you really have to know for where you live what you can and cannot bill for. Though the rest of them are standard. Those are across the board, but this particular HCPCS code is iffy. There are many manufacturers for this quick screen one-step amphetamine test. I just use the manufacturer Pharmatech, and the use of this test is screening test for the presence detection of amphetamine in the urine. And again, you have to check, and then when you know, I just have like a little booklet of all my little cheat sheet pieces of information, and that's how I know, because there's too much to remember. But that waived test list is really, really important, and you will get denied if you put a QW where it doesn't belong, like on the pregnancy test. So you want to be sure you have that right.
Do you need more medical certification training? Go to www.cco.us. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for updates.